Catered clinics offer specialist clinics, diagnostics and pharmacy services, ensuring you and your family receive the best. So see your cardiologist, pediatrician, gynecologist, family physician, your surgeon, dermatologist, diabetologist rather, gastroenterologist, neurologist, pulmonologist, among other consultants near your home. So, remember, for families on Gong Road and its environs, we got you medical centers at the following locations: Prestige Plaza, Valley Arcade Shopping Center, the Bina Complex in Karen, T-Mall, Gong Town. Visit any Aga Khan University Hospital Medical Center in your hood today, or you can call 0730 011 888. That's 0730 011 888. The Aga Khan University Hospital World Class Care here and now. All right, so remember that. Even some of these things that might give you a headache or may have you feeling a little bit of IBS, don't Google your symptoms. You can actually go and get treated, and it's near you. Sawa. All right, we're getting into this morning and we're talking about Game Plan 2027, pleading for numbers and accountability. Dr. Barrack Muluka is here with us in the studio. A very good morning to you, Dr.
Very good morning to you, to Dennis.
Good morning.
You're well?
Superb, actually. Yes, I keep saying I live in concentric circles, and the innermost circle is sound and well.
Fantastic. At least that's somewhere to start from.
Yeah.
All right. We're going to be talking about some of these things 2027. There's a lot being said. There's a lot of conjecture flying around. But let's start off with where Dennis has taken us this week.
Today we are in Eritrea. Gained independence in 1993, fought for over 30 years with the Ethiopians. And it is a one-party state with no formally implemented constitution, at least until since 1997. A population of around 6 million people. And just outside the capital, Asmara, there is what is called a tank graveyard. So after the war, the tanks are there as a reminder of what happened in the country. Coffee is consumed mostly in social spaces. So if you go there, just ask for kahawa tungu, kahawa tamu.
Okay.
The proverb, a good road is used a second time. A good road is used
a second time.
How would you interpret it?
Okay. Well, first of all, localize that saying. Domesticate it.
Yes.
Take it all the way to Emmanuel, where I come from. There's the saying that where the child has found a mushroom, he will keep going back. So where you have found good things, you keep going there. Or let's say you don't change a winning formula. Yeah, when I used to play football, the coach used to say you don't change a winning side. Yeah, so a good road can be traveled a second
time.
Indeed.
The bad one will be avoided at all costs.
Yes.
I like that.
And if you find a bad one, if you discover that you chose the wrong route, you avoid it. If you dial the wrong number, there's no point lying to yourself that the number is fine and insisting, telling the person at the other end of the line that I know this number. Wacha kujificha. Yeah, so there you are.
All right.
You can take it to many different spheres and domains.
Yeah.
That's why the good man called Lazarus Chakwera turned out to have been a bad road.
Yeah.
And people elected not to travel on that road
Again.
a second time.
Yeah.
Well,
a second time, okay.
You can use Chakwera as an example, or many would say you could use another. But perhaps into this conversation, we'll then be able to find what that other road then might be. Since we use sports analogies quite often, why don't we use another one this morning? That it's rarely unlikely that a sports team or even a sport that plays with a sportsman or woman in a singular fashion will embark upon a match without a plan. That they have studied their opponent, but more than that, they've studied the science of this game that they're about to engage in, that they know that if I do this, I will get this. If I am consistent, I will then be able to achieve a certain result. But more than that, they study their opponent and they know that this is where their strength is, this is what they're likely to do, and this is what I must do then to counter it or defend my position in order to secure a win. Do we see that these kind of things are happening for 2027 when an election is in the offing?
Thank you very much for that analogy. Take it a little further. Number one, you are supposed to know the opponent virtually in everything that you do, because we live in a competitive and competing world. You should know their strengths, you should know their weaknesses, but more fundamentally, you should also know yourself. Know also your strengths, acknowledge your weaknesses, and recognize the opportunities that both sides present. So when you look at 2027, my interpretation is that, one, there are two competing sides, so to speak, very broadly, that there is the current dispensation, and then there are those who would presume to want to succeed them, and that they would be eyeing one another. And so let me start with the incumbent, that there is President William Ruto, who is assembling around himself a battalion. He starts with some of those he had, but there are also some he has lost and who have become part of the opposing squad. I would presume that he probably understands them, but they would also understand him. And I think that he is tempted to understand them from the perspective that they may not have access to the kind of state resources and the wherewithal that he has. And so he's engaging them in attrition, financial attrition, one could even say. How do we explain the ongoing early campaigns? He's moving from county to the next county and going back to the counties where he was a few weeks ago. I think the objective is to run them out of financial steam, assuming that he has understood them very well, and expecting that they will run out of money, not out of ideas as such, but out of money to fund their own going campaigns. Because you see, the president is the state. He has the state, and like Louis XIV famously said, the state is me and I am the state. So he can convert every governance opportunity to a political occasion and use it to self-congratulate himself for both real and imagined achievements. And meanwhile, the opposition is running also all over the place, following him where he has been, trying to rebut and negate and reconstruct what he has said, deconstruct and reconstruct. So in a sense, that is correct. But have they understood the president, if I flip the coin to the other side? If they had, they would understand that he's engaging them in these Fabian, they would call them Fabian tactics, after Fabius Maximus, who was an ancient Greek general. And he used the strategy of wearing out the opponent. Muhammad Ali used the same in boxing, wear out the opponent and then floor him or floor her. They understood that. Because here is a president who is perpetually on the rustings, congratulating himself, as we say, for both real and imagined achievements, launching and relaunching the same things that were launched some time back, some by himself, others by governors and so on. I think the political position has most certainly failed to remember some very basic things. One of them is that achievement is measurable, and success is also measurable. And that there would be a template that you are using to measure success. That, for example, if it is an exam, there would be a syllabus, and next to the syllabus would be a marking scheme, and it's expected that the syllabus was covered, and the questions that have been asked, each has got a marking scheme, and the marking scheme has got answers that the examiners, and therefore those who have prepared the marking scheme, will say the candidates are supposed to know the following. The correct answer would read as follows. It would include the following components. And then they would say, give extra marks for this and that. What is the marking scheme or the template in this case? The marking scheme and the template that I expect the political opposition to be using would be a marking scheme that says, wait a minute, President William Ruto is saying he has done this, he's done the other one, and he's done I don't know what. Where are the 47 charters that he signed with the counties? Each county. Walk him through those charters, county qua county, county after county. You are in Kitui on such and such a date. You signed a charter with the people of Kitui. You said you are going to do the following 16 things. Tick them off, one box after the other. Move from Kitui, go to Makueni, come to Machakos, come to Nairobi, go to Nakuru, go to Kericho, all the way go to Uasin Gishu, West Pokot, and so on. That way, you start now disrupting President William Ruto, because the president clearly is avoiding being audited. And audits are very, very dangerous things for politicians, because you are now telling them this was your promissory card. If you're talking about jobs are countable, they are measurable. You don't just wake up and you tell us you have created 800,000 jobs, you have created 3 million jobs, where the taxes are measurable. Cost of living is measurable. Factories in Kakamega, where we were promised 3, are measurable. You can say where they are. Mumia's sugar factory is measurable. Pan paper mills is measurable. 1,000 kilometers of bitumen roads is measurable. You must say where they are. When you talk about SHA, it is a lived experience. It is measurable. All these things are auditable. And so, have you understood the opponent? No. Finally, I must say something about this headline in today's Standard, Ruto's bogeyman. And the editors say that with Mount Kenya voting bloc seemingly defiant towards President Ruto's efforts, re-election efforts, his pointmen are pointing fingers at Uhuru Kenyatta, and they're accusing him of funding the opposition. Not necessarily going to the merits or demerits of that, but it would suffice to observe that this lends credence to our thinking that President William Ruto is engaging the opposition in attrition, Fabian tactics, as we have said, and he did not expect that there would be the ability of them getting funds from anywhere to match him. And if it is true, if I'm using the subjunctive, if it is true that President Uhuru Kenyatta is funding the opposition, It is probably because the Kenyatta Empire is possibly one of the very few entities that
Can match the president's
could
pocket.
match the president's deep pockets.
See, Barrack, as we talk about 2027, there's a lot that comes into play. So we talk about a population that one would say is woke. They call
Yes.
themselves that. A population that is asking for, that is demanding that things be done a different way, constitutionalism, rule of law, and as well as a youth vote that is out there and demanding certain things. As we talk about 2027, there is all this to think about, because politics will not be played as has been played before, because you're dealing with individuals who, when you talk about SHA, like you've said, they will take you through the numbers and tell you, I'm sorry, but it did not work. We did not experience it. You talk about the roads you talk about. How many kilometers have you constructed? Is it factual? Again, last week numbers do not lie. There is what the president says. The economy has improved. But in the economic survey that has been released by a government body says things are not as the president is telling it. In 2027, politicians, are they looking at a changed or a different voter who's looking at things critically, or it's just an assumption that things remain the same?
I think the voters are very informed, and the voters are very bold, and the voting environment is very different. Sun Tzu, the battlefield tactician from ancient China, famously said, as rule number one of war, that you do not fight the last war. If you fought the last war and you won using certain methods and certain tactics and tricks, do not assume that you are going to fight the next war the same way you fought the last war and expect to win. You are fighting in a different battleground. Even if the space is the same, the moments have changed, the times have changed, the combatants have changed, the ammunition has changed. There are so many things that have changed. If you look at today's press again, you can see one of the papers saying Kenyatta is saying, I will not vie on a UDA ticket in 2027 polls. And you remember that the president, when he was then a deputy president, was very laudatory of Irungu Kenyatta. He was talking about how he was a very truthful individual and how he would vote for him. You can see they're saying also in this space here, Ruto admits Mount Kenya headache in 2027 polls, and he hopes that he can go there and preach to them. I don't know whether it's a new gospel or the same old gospel. They say that if you are tenacious, that you could change the other person's mind and get them to do what you desire of them. I doubt very much that that is going to work. And this, again, is for the entire political fraternity, both those in the opposition space and those in government. I do think that the room exists for the wild card, the unknown factor, because there's a sense in which the country continues to be subjected to legacy politics. Legacy politics that makes the political space a very noisy chamber. You could almost equate it to a lunatic asylum, where the lunatics are screaming at one another, screaming invective and screaming unprintable things that even have got to do with people's body parts, the same way we used to do when we were little boys and girls growing up in the estates of this country. And the younger voters, the younger population, which is the majority, is placing before them statistics. The younger people, the millennials and the Gen Zs, are placing before you statistics. They're saying we don't like this finance bill because of the following factors. They are even translating the finance bill into their mother tongues and sharing with those who may not be as sophisticated and saying this is why we don't like these things. So if you are in government, you must respond to those things. Beating them up or shooting them in the legs or disappearing them is not a solution. The more you engage in that, the more you gravitate towards the saying that the Christian fraternity used to say in the early ages of the church, that the blood of martyrs is the seed of martyrdom. So the more you kill, the more you have others sprouting and running against you. The political opposition, on the other hand, as I have said, needs to convince the electorate that it's not another cartel entity in waiting. That it's not saying, when it says that we are the united alternative government, that you are saying we are the united alternative cartel, that they must demonstrate that they are fundamentally going to do something different. Let me just sum that up very quickly. You see, when you listen to the opposition, including the newly emerged one that has broken away from ODM, they are very good with placing their fingers on the problems. They have got their fingers on the pulse of what troubles us. But they need to go a step further to be able to curate that into a statement. What then is the promissory statement? What then is the election question? And within the promissory statement or pronouncement, therefore, again have certain measurable things. And you can loop this back to William Ruto in 2022. He was not satisfied with just saying that he was waging a war against people he characterized as dynasties. He went on to say what he would do and to say it in a believable manner. He went on to curate, canalize, and package that in documentary evidence or promissory notes that he then took to Makueni, he took to Kilifi, he took to Kwale, he took to Turkana, each one answering local needs. And having done that, he then moved on to certain other demographics, like the youth, and said, I'm signing a charter with the youth.
Women.
I'll do the following things. I'm signing a charter with women. I'm signing a charter with people living with disabilities. As I've said, he needs to be audited on that. But the opposition must come up with theirs.
So then we got to a point where an election then had a theme. And as you said, the last election was one that took on an economic nature, and that it was going to put money, essentially the one who came out, the winner of that election, was going to be the one tasked with putting money back into the pockets of Kenyans. That's what the promise was.
Indeed.
So then I hear you almost advocating for that theme to be invited into the political conversation now moving forward, that what is it going to be about? Is it making sure that Kenyans then, is it the rule of law? Is it just social justice? Is it ensuring that certain things are done? But you seem to want it to coalesce around something, a statement that some people can follow. But I want to come back to some of the things that you mentioned. If we were to look at the coast region, for example, somebody made a suggestion last week that each leader ought to stand on the promises that they make and give evidence of those things having been done. And perhaps that is then what Kenyans will coalesce around and say, Barrack said that he was going to build a dam. He did. He said that he was going to make access to education more available to everybody. He did, or he did not. If we look at the coast region, every county, as you say, had a charter. Mombasa, there was going to be the expansion of the blue economy. This is what President William Ruto said, that the port-linked manufacturing and logistics was going to be a reality, that there were going to be affordable housing projects, that there was going to be SME financing through the Hustler Fund, and that there would be market modernization and tourism revival. Well, a lot of those things are in the public arena. Let's go to Kwale. The Dongo Kundu infrastructure integration was going to be a reality. Beach tourism would be expanded. The fishing industry would get support. Water access projects then would also be a reality. And the coconut and cashew industries would be revived, and there would be value addition. In Kilifi, salt and mining industry support again was going to be a reality. There would be irrigation agriculture. There would be tourism infrastructure. The roads would be upgraded, and fisheries development would take place. That's just Kilifi. Tana River. The Garissa Kulalu Irrigation Revival Project was going to happen. Livestock value chains then would be a reality. Drought mitigation projects would come up. I think we've just come out of one of the worst droughts in Kenya's history. Water storage infrastructure would be established. Water infrastructure, we're looking at things like dams and water pans and things like that. Rural road connectivity was going to happen until 80% is the number that was given. Lamu, the LAPSET corridor implementation, not idea birthing, implementation. Port logistics jobs were going to be created, fishing infrastructure, tourism investment, security and transport links. And then we'll stop in Taita Taveta, where there was going to be a formalization of the mining sector. Wildlife tourism would be expanded. Taveta irrigation schemes would be established, and road and border trade projects would happen. This is just the coast, the 6 counties of the coast. There are 41 other charters that were done, but this is the gist of those. It's good for us to say these things out loud because they were documented in terms of how they were going to happen. One would say that what you're saying now is you then have no business asking Kenyans to give you another round at the rodeo if these things, and this is not pie in the sky, these are things you said and were documented. If these things you said you were going to do were not done, do you have any business asking Kenyans to give you another shot?
Precisely. That is what I am saying, that that should constitute the conversation. That there are these instruments which the president, the current president, placed before us as a sacrosanct, deliverable, promissory notes, and which were forgotten, or they seem to have been forgotten, as soon as he brought down the Bible, as soon as he started waving the sword of the commander-in-chief, which he says is not meant for cutting vegetables. And we are saying that instead of telling people that they are very fat or very thin, instead of telling people things about gastric activities in their alimentary canal, instead of talking about people who do not go to the gym and stuff of that kind, His Excellency the President should be going back to the town halls where he went with the audit reports and juxtaposing the audit report with the promissory notes. And the political opposition should be interrogating those instead of saying things about whose ears are flying into which direction, and instead of talking about and you know, certain things may be true. I may have ears that sit in a certain way. They do not add value to the citizen's life. I may be the fittest fellow who goes to the fittest gym, or I may be the most wobbly. Those are things that are irrelevant. When you start calling people stupid, brainless, crooks, criminals, first, if you are the president and you know that somebody is a crook or a criminal, you occupy one of the most critical spaces, cause them to have their day in court, cause them to face the law. And the political opposition can also do the same. It is not enough to say things like, we are going to take William Ruto to the ICC because he killed Gen Zs. When are you going to do that? Now is good a time as any. Take his matters before the International Criminal Court. But back more to the issues that you have just walked us through a catalogue and do. You promised us this. You haven't delivered. You have digressed from those promises. You seemed to have a plan, and you even called it the plan. You used the definitive article, the plan.
Not a plan.
Not a plan.
Yeah.
It was the plan, and it had its 5 pillars. And from those 5 pillars, you are able to extrapolate and give us more other pillars to support the plan. But what are Kenyans saying? Kenyans are saying a president who goes to Emurua Dikir to attend a funeral, sits there for 6-7 hours, which is a very extravagant way of spending our time, because the 7 hours that the president spends there should be multiplied by the 50 million Kenyans to determine how many hours have been lost. And when you are in Emurua Dikir, the local what is he called, senator, says that they want a university in that area. On the spur of the moment, you say that I'm giving you 20 million and I will give you another 100 million next week, and within the next 2 months we will give you $1 billion so that you build a university. You move from there, you go to Ol Kalou, and the same theme comes up, and you tell the people of Ol Kalou, here is 20 million to kickstart the project. Next week, we'd like you to start building the administration block. Now, those are voodoo economics. That is what is called voodoo development. That is what Idi Amin Dada of Uganda used to do when I was a young man growing up in East Africa. That he would say, you are Dennis Aseto, now you are the governor of Central Bank of Uganda.
Go print money.
You go and print money. And these people have asked for a new railway line to link this Nairobi to Machakos. Start that tomorrow. We are coming here to break the ground. That is not development. That is what in biology they would call a spontaneous growth or development. Because you see, we are organized. The human being or any animal is an organized organism, a collection of systems, a circulatory system, the respiratory system, the locomotive system, and whatever other systems, the alimentation system, which seems to be their favorite conversation. Now, if you wake up one morning and there's a new system that has developed, instead of having even your 2 eyes, you have 3 new sets of eyes. That's a spontaneous
development.
And it's a
Barrack, it would not get lost to communications, or rather the report that Kenyans have been giving the president. You know, you start with Gen Z, the protests that were there, and they were speaking back to the government and telling them, we do not agree with this. You come to 2025 as well, the demonstrations were there. Extrajudicial killings is something we do not agree with. But let's go even further to a letter that you wrote together with Pierre Lumumba to the president. And with that, you highlighted several things: governance and accountability. And this is what you said: the strength of a democracy is not measured by the eloquence of its leaders, but by the resilience of its institutions. And you asked him to strengthen them. We will talk about national unity, the youth question, integrity in public life. Your Excellency, leadership is not about comfort, it is about courage. The courage to make unpopular but necessary decisions, the courage to admit missteps, the courage to listen. First question, this you speaking, was this letter ever responded to? And with the issues that you raised here, how critical is it for the president to listen to the people he is serving, to give them the report, the status of how they're feeling, the true feeling on ground?
Yes, some of these things that we do, the letters that we write, the articles that we put in the newspapers, the conversations that we have, some of them are in part really documentation for future generations that this was done. I think that the person to advise President William Ruto is not yet born. The person whom President William Ruto can listen to is not yet born. And that is a very huge tragedy, because even the wisest of people and rulers, including King Solomon himself, have always had counsels, and they are counsels of people who will speak to them with candor. They are not people who will tell the leader lies because they know what he wants to hear. And so they end up with the naked king. Irungu Kangata, the governor of Murang'a County, has been praised as a very candid individual. And he has said in a very formal manner that he has got responsibility to the people, and he will not be part of the lies that are being told by the party and the leadership of the party on whose ticket he ran the last time. So when we say some of these things to His Excellency the President, we do hope that he spends a few minutes to even just peruse. Most likely he looks at the whole thing and he says, this is rubbish. Tupa uko. Who are these fellows? What do they think they are to deign to speak to me and to write to me this kind of letter? Never mind that it is couched in a fairly polite and civil language. You cannot have the president abandoning the seat of power in Nairobi, in State House, in Harambee House, and is permanently cutting across the country on self-congratulatory missions that he calls inspecting development, where there is actually no development, and making new promises, even as he says, we have done this on roads, we have done this on electricity, we have done this with employment, we've done this with hospitals, which we know are not working, we've done this with education, which we know is collapsing. And instead of sitting and planning and listening, getting reports and reading You are on a campaign mission. We are trying to tell him, Your Excellency, accept that you have made mistakes. Accept, for example, that SHA was a big mistake, that NHIF was working. All you needed to do was to correct any areas that were not functional, that education, university funding was working. You did not need to disrupt it. But obviously there are factors that led to that, and I doubt that they had much to do with the need to serve the people better. We see fellows around with huge stacks of money, and we can only imagine that some of these things, including the digital platforms, are really just siphons. They were put there as siphons, and that's why nobody wants to listen. Affordable housing is a siphon. We are building stadia, Talanta, Hela Stadia. They are turning out to be the most expensive stadia ever built anywhere in the world. And someone needs to accept. Hence, finally, when His Excellency, the President, starts seeing the numbers are getting depressed, and he goes back to the backyard at home to speak to the community in harsh tones, in mother tongue, to tell them that you have not registered in numbers that can cushion me, that can make me happy, that can make me comfortable. He ought to know that it's because he doesn't listen. And even that particular constituency that he has taken for granted, that he assumes he can herd like cattle. Because when you go home, if I go to Emanyudia today and start telling the people of Emanyudia to protect me, to save me, appealing to the herd instincts, appealing to the lowest of the sentiments, of the emotions among the people, that they should now come to rescue one of them because we are of the same genetic makeup. I should realize that the reason the Manyudia people are not registering, are not enthusiastic, is that they are part and parcel of the country that is suffering.
Absolutely.
And they are suffering with everyone else.
This is it. And even as you say that, I mean, just casting my mind to the person who came up with the adage that a leopard will not change its spots. It will not become a striped cat tomorrow. This is who it is. So if in a period of time you did not achieve certain things and you did not show direction into achieving them, the likelihood of that changing in the near future then is slim to none. But the problem here, whereby these things that may have been promised, or even the things that you mentioned, education, health, infrastructure, all over the place, the reason why they cannot be done, even if you really, really wanted to, is that Kenya owes too much in order for anything to be left for development. That's the truth. There's a reason why Kibaki did not borrow. And there's a reason why people keep touting about the development that was experienced during the Kibaki administration. The truth of the matter is that there is not enough wiggle room to take care of recurrent expenditure and development with what's left after paying debt. Kenya owes too much money to realize a significant index of development at the moment. That's the truth, void of emotion or any kind of romanticism. Is it safe to say that anybody, in or out, that is not addressing the debt problem further to the development infrastructure problem also then has no business dealing with these things? Because you can come and talk about how you want to implement a manifesto, but if you don't have the resources to do so, you will not do it.
Yes, President Bill Clinton, when he campaigned to be president of the United states first term, reduced the whole campaign question to a simple formula. He would say, it's the economy, stupid. All these things flow into the economy. And when we talk about debt and being overborrowed, remind you that for a period of 3 or so years, I worked very closely with the gentleman who is now the Prime Cabinet Secretary, Musalia Mudavadi. We formed a political party. Sometimes even scholars form political parties. I told you about Chinua Achebe's People's Redemption Party.
Yes.
Yeah, and I flatter myself with the thinking that I walk in the footsteps of those kinds of giants and stand on their shoulders. So we formed a political party.
Yeah.
It was called ANC, Amani National Congress. And one of the things that we kept on harping on with the gentleman who is the Prime Cabinet Secretary today was debt. And we kept on saying that the public debt should be published.
Yeah.
It should be publicized. We should know whom we owe how much, the sovereign debt. We should know whom we owe how much, when it was borrowed, what interest it has since attracted, how we are paying, when we hope to finish paying, what the money did, and the like. Now, when he's in that space, it has swallowed him. He doesn't talk about these things. I think there must be something about those spaces. You get into them and they swallow you. If you don't want to be swallowed, you run away very quickly and continue articulating the things that you are articulating before. But, and this is a very big but, in the year 2023, Kenyans went through a very painful financial season. It was the beginning of the attrition that we are suffering today. And President William Ruto, together with Musalia Mudavadi, were repeatedly telling Kenyans it's because we are paying debts. And they were saying, after 2 years, we will have no more debts. Just give us 2 years. And after 2 years, we shall have paid all our debts. And everything that we are going to be doing in this country is going to spend our own money. That is another question for audit. Can you tell us that debt, how big it was? Never mind that you may not be the ones who had borrowed. And after that, how much more have you borrowed? And what happened to the promise that you made about 2 years? It's now 4 years.
Yeah. Prof, as we head to 2027 and the plans around that, there is the Mwananchi factor and their plan around that and what they want to achieve. Would you reckon that where we find ourselves today as a country, that Mwananchi knows what they want, they would vote for that, and they would keep the political class accountable to the promises that they give?
There is a bit of a challenge with a certain demographic of the voting Mwananchi. I stated earlier on that there is a cause to have a lot of faith in the new generations, the Gen Zs and the millennials. And one would want to hope that this is not just about them as voters, but them as leaders, that they continue to know what we want, and that unlike the crowds that we see harassing and terrorizing James Orengo when he goes to a funeral, and the ones that we see clobbering Godfrey Osotsi, that the majority of the young people understand that this is their country, and that the older generations, my generation and other generations ahead of us, and the generation immediately behind me, have failed them. We have failed the young people in this country. I saw a clip of a Tanzanian member of parliament asking members of parliament, why are you telling the young people to go out there to create jobs? You are not able to create any job yourself. Wewe umeomba kazi kama mbunge, uwezi wewe mwenyewe kuunda kazi huko nje. You can't create jobs. These young people must know that this country belongs to them, and it belongs to their children and their children's children. And the time is now. We have reached that vantage point where this country is either going to take off next year through a complete turnover in leadership, having new leaders, a new generation, or we are going to go the South America way. This is the point at which we must choose the path, whether we are going to become Venezuela, Colombia, Nicaragua, Guatemala, or we are going to become a modern state. And the young people should know that they can never be too young. When Jomo Kenyatta, Achengo Neko, Bidat Kagia, Karumba, and the others were being arrested in October 1952, Tom Mboya was just about 20 years old and already giving the country direction. A lot of 20-year-olds in this country today are in college, in universities, and wherever. And there are others who have come out. They must understand that they can never be too young. If you are 35 and above, you are ready to become the next president of this country. And we should start casting our sights wider and further and outside the beaten path and the beaten docket, and saying that these are the 6 people or the 10 people. And we're asking ourselves, so who among these people can we vote for? Come on, the person we need to vote for is perhaps not yet showing within that landscape. They're being reticent and sitting back and imagining that they're still young. You can never be too young.
And on that point, we can end it. Dr. Barrack Muluka, thank you for being here with us this morning. There's some words of advice. Take it. And 8:01, good morning.
The latest news from around the world. 94.4 Spice FM. This is the Situation Room, the only way to